halving month. Good morning, May 3rd. Welcome to Blockchain Breakfast. We have, and oh, by the way, sponsored by, of course, the Manny Pacquiao Foundation. Manny Pacquiao Foundation. Read it right there. Help us change lives, one investment at a time. And for us, it's one crypto at a time. And of course, sponsored by Verge Currency. We have with us Miguel, Carlos. And oh, by the way, sponsored by.
Hey.
Well, there's Miguel from MC Capital Ventures. And of course, our host, David G from G Media. Looking quite swell today. And Mr. Hairdo, Ross McDonald. Good morning, Miguel. How are you, buddy?
Good. Good morning. Thanks for having me, guys.
You've got some nice sunny weather down wherever you are. Is that Phoenix, Mexico? Where are you at today?
Irvine, Shady Canyon.
Ah, yes.
Yes.
So, what's your story, my friend? You are quite accomplished.
That's an intro.
I know. I was like, you're putting me on spot.
Oh, well, that's why I said anything we shouldn't be talking about, but it's like, no, man. We're all out there, but it's just like I find it just so intriguing, and we're blessed to have you, because you're coming from the institutional side of things. So this is going to give our viewers like a really way of thinking. But
Absolutely.
I mean, for the new people, I think they probably should know where you're coming from.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not just me, but the fact that we can give them a good sense and perspective on how institutional players and old money, how we think and how we operate per se. We can't just keep on saying that, because I've seen a lot of people on Twitter. They keep on saying, "How come Warren Buffett or this and that, or why can't they put their money, in crypto?" I'm like, dude, if they put their money in crypto, it's over. It's gonna be unaffordable,
Yeah.
Because for us, we just don't really care about how much the price is, because forget about me, but for a lot of people, they can really pay even if it's 20 grand. We care about how much units, a full one Bitcoin. That's what matters for us, not fraction. That's not how institutional players play their game. We think of it as an investment per se.
Mm-hmm. So for our viewers, if you don't mind sharing, what's your backstory? Just I know, obviously on crypto Twitter and we talked about last week with David, but
yeah,
in our little crypto Twitter sphere, people may or may not understand kind of where you came from. So what's your backstory, just so our viewers know?
Yeah, so basically I started my career back in the days when I was in FIU. I was recruited by Gotham Asset Management. Spent my days with Wall Street, for about 3 years with Gotham Asset Management. And then I got hired headhunt by JP Morgan as the senior analyst. I stayed in Wall Street for about good amount, 4 or 5 years. And then I invested in startups. My first investment was with Skype when there was, still a startup.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I pretty much started my venture. I can't disclose how much money I put in, and obviously because there's what happened. In the banking industry, if you do something on the side, that's against their constitution.
Right.
If you are an employee, you are an employee. But given that, that's where I came from. And after all of those things, after all the exits, that's the time that I pretty much quit my job in Wall Street and became a standalone venture capital. I gathered a lot of my clientele and friends, my network, and obviously my family who adopted me are very well off per se.
Mm-hmm.
So I used that as a leverage, but I never asked for any dime or money per se from my parents. I did work on my own wealth and money wise, and we invested in Uber, Lyft, Airbnb, and SpaceX. So I've been fortunate. I'm not gonna say successful, fortunate enough because those companies that I have mentioned, it's not easy to get in, um, and uh, um, and you're not gonna make money right away in venture capital. Most of the time, you have to wait for about 8, 10 years to exit. So far that's where I started, and then my I have my own firm now. I started MC Capital Ventures. I created my own case study, just like Ray Dalio and Warren Buffett and Bill Ackman and Carl Icahn. Uh, so I'm a very small boutique in terms of a hedge fund. But one thing that I'll definitely be proud to say is that we do allocate 3 to 5% of our clients' net worth into Bitcoin. So we treat
Wow.
it as a asset allocation. Yes. So we put them in the basket of new emerging fund basket.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is it just, no, I don't know. Is it just Bitcoin or is it others as well? Or are you
Bitcoin.
focused
Focus
just
on
on
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin?
Yes, yes. We treat it as a insurance policy per se, as a cushion in case
Yeah.
of whatever happens. And having 3 to 5% of a client's net worth in it, I think that's a big boost. They don't care if it goes down or whatsoever, because at the end of the day, what they think of is, they're not trading. We're not trading. We buy and hold. We
Right.
invest. But obviously, we get into the right entry point, right? Given to the environment that we're at right now, there's a possibility we believe that we may retest the lows, just like in equities. As you can see, it's going down hard right now. And right now in Bitcoin, as you can see, I'm not predicting. That's not our job. Our
Right,
job
yeah.
is to invest people's money. I always stress that one out. And right now, bulls can't break 9458. That's the number, and it keeps on going down at 89. So it's playing around there, and again, anything's possible. But at this moment, when you think of the broader market at the macro standpoint, um, there's no money floating around really. I mean, even though when a lot of people keep on saying that, oh, Fed's just printed money, well, that's not the case. That money went somewhere else. It's not in our pocket, and even if it goes to our pocket as a society, we're not going to put it in an investment. Most of the time, we put it into what? Necessities. So at the end of the day, when you think about it, and even James Powell, he mentioned this live nationwide, the money that they have is what you call credit facility. There's a difference between liquid and credit facility. Credit, it's kind of like a credit card. There's a cap, there's a limit. So whatever money's floating around right now, it's pretty much limited to whatever cost we need to use it for.
Right.
Seeing
So,
as
yeah.
seeing as you've come from traditional finance, everyone says, digital assets, Bitcoin, that finance is changing. But do you look at investing with digital assets any differently than you do with traditional finance?
That's a fair question. Again, we treat it like an insurance policy at the moment. The main reason why it is hard to take right now as a solid asset per se, I'm not saying it's not an asset. It's because it's not yet widely broadly used. It's not yet in Wall Street or Main Street per se. When you want to call it a real asset per se, just like what Chamak is saying, and that's the reason why even Pomp is saying that we're not there yet, but soon we will. But if you ask them, when you say soon, what's the timeline? Nobody can
Yeah.
say it, right? It's good to say it in a way and have a confidence per se, but right now that's what you call hopium, right? So when you think of the investors or institutional players, they don't do that. They don't invest in just because of hope to have that kind. We invest because of the projections based on the tendency of the market, based on whatever's happening around us. But we would, yes, and not just me, I think everybody in general can say this confidently. In fact, when we feel like and we started to see there's proper regulations, sure, because we want that. And I believe we talked about this before, and we consider it's just a lot of manipulation in the market, and we can see it clearly. When I mentioned about credit and liquid or credit facility by the feds, and a lot of these kids on Twitter keeps on saying that we have money to spend in crypto, by the way, blah, blah, blah. Well, sure, just like one instance, I saw one guy, he posted like, we received our stimulus check and we put it in Bitcoin. Well, great, congratulations, it's a fraction. Does it make a dent? No. The one who can make a dent is institutional players if we have proper regulations. And when we have that, I think we can have an equilibrium and stability in the market, which is great in long term. It may be bad in short term, I'll be honest, because a lot of people will be scared because for a mere fact, it's time to pay taxes. Second, they're gonna be a lot of dumping happening. Obviously they want to take out because there's a lot of, for them in their mind, there's gonna be uncertainty in the market. But the truth is, in long term, you should hold because that's a good asset to have now.
It's interesting you mentioned about the hopium, blind faith that people have in the fact that Bitcoin will increase.
I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm not saying that being bearish right now in every market. Look, I'm not bearish just with Bitcoin now. I'm bearish with every assets right now out there. I'm speaking on behalf of my clients too as well, and with my other friends who's a hedge fund as well. It's not feasible. It is not really applicable right now to say that we're in a bullish trend per se. Even if it goes up in price, it doesn't mean that we're wrong. No, because as you can see right now, there's so many stable coin printing out, coins out there for, my question is, who's giving you the check?
Yeah.
It's just hard to think about that. When people think about this, it's a good, fair question to ask when you think about, would you rather invest in equities or Bitcoin or crypto itself? When you feel like, a lot of kids will probably be pissed at me and say, hey, you're stupid, or, for saying that. Well, let me ask you a good question. Is crypto a bankable asset per se in traditional way? No. But if you invest in equities, they are bankable. That means you can leverage, right? A lot of people would disagree, but hey, that's one way you can grow your assets and your net worth in a most positive way. And it's helping the economy, by the way. Sooner or later, I believe, there's a lot of crypto blockchain incorporate and companies who's pretty much doing lending services. But the problem is that you have to give your assets, right? So how can we mitigate that risk? And that's one I'm trying to say that, what if banks can consider this as a bankable asset? Isn't it a much better idea? And believe me, all these lending services in crypto will shut down if the bank or JP Morgan or Merrill Lynch start doing that. If you have Bitcoin, I can lend you money, right? And you can still own your asset, just like real estate.
Yeah, there's a few services now that will loan you for money, and you can leverage your Bitcoin, but the loan to value ratio is only 50% because it's so volatile.
It's crazy. Exactly.
Which is actually, that's a good thing. Like Ledden, based out of Toronto, the loan to value is 50%, so that when it dips, you don't get margin called. So they design that so you don't lose your Bitcoin, which I give them credit for.
Correct.
But you're right. The banks will leverage other assets so much more. You're right.
With real assets.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So at least that makes it less volatile in a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to bring up. Because it makes
So
a lot
you're
of
saying
sense.
so you're saying this run that Bitcoin has going for itself right now has nothing to do with the stimulus checks?
Not at all. No,
because that's what people are telling me, and like,
yeah,
I don't think so.
that's my reaction.
I go on Twitter, like the same thing like you. I go on Twitter. I'm reading these tweets. Yeah, you can thank me for Bitcoin going up because I'm putting in my $1,200 into the market. I'm like,
my reaction is like this.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the IRS is just locking in every single one of those Twitter accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, David, you must.
yeah,
have...
but who you gonna lock in? Crypto Gumby? Come on, ring the bell right now. Ring the bell. Who you gonna lock in?
That's funny. That's true.
David, you must have ran into the same person online that Miguel did. Miguel was shredding this kid on Twitter the other day.
I saw that.
You can mention the name.
I saw that. What's the guy's name?
It doesn't even matter. Like it's all of them though. Like A lot of people, oh, I can't wait until I get my stimulus check. I'm throwing it into Bitcoin. Like, what?
That's
And what are you
fine.
doing with that? Like, okay, so even if 300 people threw in $1,200, it's not going to do anything. So, like, yeah, I'm sitting back. Listen, I didn't say nothing for the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes here because I agree with Miguel, man. Like, especially when he said the stimulus check, I wanted to, like, die laughing. I mean, like, that's a big thing I hear.
I mean, I didn't get a stimulus package or the check. I didn't because of the bracket. But my point is that if I'm receiving that, if I'm in their situation, I would rather spend that for food.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen,
I'm just being,
being that you're a hedge fund manager, I mean, you said you put, about 3%, you invest about 3% into Bitcoin, but obviously you invest into other markets.
Yes.
Because obviously, at the end of the day, some of the other markets are a little bit more safer and they can bring back a little bit more in returns.
I mean, when they're bragging about the return of Bitcoin and comparing to equities, well, we don't see it that way. So keep in mind, yes, it's somewhat true, whatever they're saying that Bitcoin is up par and it's making money. If I show you my track record, because we buy equities, right, in stocks. And so we have long stocks, we have for long term, but we have option trading. If I show you the fucking track record in option trading by hedge funds, we make the most like in 4,300 return percentile.
Of course.
Last Friday, we just made about 58% in just one fucking trade.
Wow.
One day.
See, and I've been talking about this on, on Twitter, on crypto Twitter, whatever. I guess I need to be talking on Fin Twitter, but you tell people on Twitter, hey, this is the time to kind of like look into the stock market, because like if you look at 2008, 2009, a lot of wealthy people came out of that. People say, oh my God, recession. Yeah, that's the time for you to go ahead and start looking.
When people are scared, get in.
Correct.
Yes.
Get in, jump in. It's okay. Because a lot of people bought Amazon for how much?
This is an interesting. It's an interesting conversation because my mom is actually, Miguel. My mom is literally in this exact spot right now where she's holding liquid, and she has she's got an advisor, but I'm not too sure that advisor's an advisor. I don't know.
Well, remember, there's a difference between advisors, financial advisors, and portfolio managers, right? I closed an account yesterday for a mere fact because it's a family friend. They got tired of financial advisor, and I asked them why, because it doesn't make sense whatever advice they're giving. And I asked them specifically, do they allocate and do they manage their portfolios too? They're like, yes. Well, keep in mind, that shouldn't be their boundaries. That shouldn't be their work. Remember, financial advisors are different from portfolio managers. And that's the reason why they won't understand it.
Yeah, and she's confused on what to do, and she's coming to me, and I said, "Well, I can't. It's liquid now." She's like, "Well, when should I jump in, and what should I jump into?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
Happy to give you some pointers.
Listen, what are you gonna do? Why hold liquid? Play with it. I mean, I'm not talking about. Listen, dumb. I all respect to him and for having the balls to do it, but the one who sold his house, mortgaged his house, threw everything into Bitcoin. The guy with the long hair.
No. I don't know him.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, Didi Tayudu.
Didi. Crypto family, Didi.
Okay.
I mean, listen, I don't advise anybody to do that shit. But like,
no,
God
me
bless
too.
him for, he took his whole life, everything into Bitcoin.
That's awesome.
You know what though? He is very calculated, Didi. He's actually that guy. He's smart, actually.
Oh, I respect that. Again,
I like Didi.
If at the end of the day, if you have a system and process in place, and you feel like you have that tendency or confidence that you can execute it, whether it goes wrong or it goes pretty good, at the end of the day, at least you believe in your system. I respect that. If he wants to go that route, hey, let him be, right? We're not in a world to question each and every one how they invest their own money. I like the one that David brought up for a mere fact that why go liquid? Well, ask about Warren Buffett. $132 billion. That's a lot of liquid, my friends. And he even mentioned, and again, I'm going to mention this publicly, that we are a big investor of Berkshire Hathaway A. So we
Type
got
A
a pretty
stock right there.
yeah. So
All right, if you
A,
guys don't know, there's a Type A and Type B.
yeah, exactly.
Miguel,
So I mean,
Miguel don't
that's
mess
why I
around
mentioned
with B
A.
stock.
Well, we may. But
I got
at
You
the
got my
moment,
drift
we're
though, right?
doing-
You got my drift.
Yes. So we do. So we do the A, for my family office, and then obviously for a lot of my clients, we participate in the A. We got in pretty early. It gives me a lot of worry right now, especially for Berkshire Hathaway. Would they just dump all of their holdings in airline? When you have that kind of news coming out in the public, that gives a lot of bearish sentiment. That man knows exactly. That man is way far better than me, like 100 times. I will tell you that. I'm not trying to downplay myself, but I'm just being realistic. That man knows exactly what's happening in the market. And when he was questioned by the public and the whole management of Berkshire Hathaway, why don't you buy companies right now or invest in other companies just like what you did back in 08 and 09? First thing he said, everything's overvalued. Think of that for a second. Think of that for a second. So that means there's a possibility, there's a tendency that it can still go down. They're waiting for that. They're waiting for that, and they're patient investors.
You know what? Being one of the greatest day traders of all time right now,
Just killing it, right?
Dave, I was just gonna ask about that. I'm like, Miguel's holding. That's what they do. I'm a holder. And I was just about to say, David, tell me how your day trading's going because.
listen,
I
you know
like
I'm
it.
a
I love
holder.
it.
I'm a holder. I'm a holder.
No, you're not. You were
I
a
invest-
holder.
No, but hold on. I invest in, most of my assets are for long-term holds, right? But like being that, like I come into Twitter, crypto Twitter's telling me how easy it is to be a day trader. You know what? I'm like, yo, let me do this. I'm a day trade, So
Hey, at the end of the day, you have a system and process in place. That's the most important part, right? You believe in
I'm
that.
writing
That's
a
the
book
most
right
important
now.
part. Yeah.
Warren Buffett
that's-
called me. He was asking me questions.
Hey,
Guys,
David, should I dump some? Yeah, you know what, Warren? I think you
No,
should.
but yeah, I mean, he called me up, asked me about the airlines. I'm like, listen, I can't go to DR right now. I can't do a lot of things. I don't think this is a good hold right now. He was like, oh, yeah, I think you're right. But no, like, I agree with him from one standpoint where I think things are overvalued a bit in the stock market, but overvalued in this sense. I don't think we're done. We're not done dumping.
No, not yet. Not yet.
We printed out, $45 billion trillion. That
That was a wrong timing by the feds.
Correct. I mean, rates are negative.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good time. I keep saying it's a good time to go into the stock market. Do your research. There's plenty of things that I don't feel overvalued right now. They're still going to go down, but it's a good time to get in, like oil. Like
Absolutely.
I'm in oil.
The way, I like what you said because I can bring up a topic, and this is how we advise our clients. By the way, if you feel like you're worried about the downside or the average cost of the price metrics of every stocks or the PE ratio, you look at to invest for dollar cost averaging. So let's say, for example, you got in at Boeing at 250, but your mentality is you're a long-term holder, right? If you still have the capacity to invest again, it's not a bad thing to load up again. So what happens now, if you keep on loading up, the dollar cost average ratio of your investment is getting lower and lower. So that means when it goes up, you can see that you're making profit from it. Again, it's a dollar cost averaging investment, how it should be. And for that, my explanation for the feds, the reason why I mentioned it's a wrong time, it's kind of like right now I have a boo-boo. So if I put like a Band-Aid, and if I remove my Band-Aid, and there's always a lifespan for every Band-Aid, right? Even if I remove that, I still have the boo-boo. So in sense, in the market itself, even if you patch the market and save the market as much as you can by the credit facility that you have facilitated, that's exactly the word that he mentioned, James Powell. Credit facility, not a fucking liquid. Credit facility, there's two difference. There's a certain amount that we're playing right now, and there's a certain amount of money going around right now being spent economically. It's wrong timing. The question now is that if it goes down again, the question is, are they going to print out more money?
Okay,
That's
you
a
go
sc-
print
that's-
out more
that's a
money.
sc-
You know,
that's a
keep
scary
printing
part.
out more money. I mean, keep printing out more money. The dollar's worth about 5.50. No, excuse me, 5 cents right now. So
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, go for it. Go make it zero. I
It's
mean, like
crazy.
it's not worth
Yeah.
anything.
So
But
when
in people, you know what it is?
Yeah.
In people's mind, being that we are the United States dollar is, the world's currency. Let's keep it real. It is the global
it's
currency.
and it's going to stay
right?
like that. It's going to stay
will.
like that for a very long time. Yeah.
Do you
I
think?
don't
Do,
believe
do you
Yeah.
think it will? You don't like. Do you think U.S. will always be the world currency, or do you think China? Do you think China is flexing, or do you think they're actually going to make a
Who?
move? China.
Who?
They're trying to make a move. I like what they were saying.
They are trying to make a move.
They're trying to make a move,
How-
right?
Listen,
So-
they could try to do whatever they want, Miguel, but
Exactly.
at the end of the day,
Agree. Yeah.
Listen. I'm not into conspiracy theories, man. I'm not.
Yep.
Listen,
Yep.
even though I've been quarantined for the last 7,000 years,
I can see the beard.
you didn't see it last week. I finally took a spoon and started shaving, but but no, seriously, if when I hear China, pushing out the agenda and that propaganda about eliminating the United States and let's Russia come in, let's go ahead and start our own currency and get the United States out the way, obviously due to sanctions and shit like that.
It ain't gonna happen. It ain't
Not gonna happen. And people, I'm gonna throw this at Miguel. People that go onto crypto Twitter, or I'm saying that the big boys that keep yapping about it, saying that Bitcoin's going to take over. It's not. And I'm going to throw this to Miguel here. It's not going to take over as the world currency. It'll be a good digital asset.
Maybe if I'm dead.
Maybe
if I'm
but
dead.
it's not.
Yeah.
Exactly. There you go.
I'm sorry.
Miguel, it's all you straight. Hey, anybody watching, this guy is in it. This is an institutional player.
Personally, I've been with Bitcoin since 2010. So, yeah.
What's the problem with the idea where people think that Bitcoin can become the world reserve currency, or that it can separate from the global economy and just blow up?
I think that's a really good question that you brought up again. I think they're not being realistic.
Yeah.
They're not paying attention on what's happening around us right now. So in an investment world, and they're treating crypto as investment, right? So let's bring up investment. When you have too much optimism or being very optimistic, that is very fucking bad. Because that means when we go up really high, tendencies that we can go down faster. Because nobody's paying attention on the plan B or the downside, where a lot of people just keep on buying when they're not thinking about the repercussion on what are the possibility, what are the things can happen. You have to have a plan or a system in place or a process where you can mitigate the risk in case whatever happens, right? So just like the kid, Nick, he kept on saying that I have a fake company and whatsoever.
Who's
In
Nick?
fact,
It's Crypto Gumby.
We talked about this is the guy that
Yeah.
Miguel was I didn't want to give this kid airtime, but Miguel was hammering him on Twitter last week.
that's the quarantine life, right? And what I did in response is that when the article from Chicago Times and from Heart Alliance, they released the video on how much I donated personally, I fucking posted that on him back at that specific thread.
I gotta go look at this. What the fuck? I missed out.
This is a long thread. You
This
need to watch it.
is what happens when you become a day trader. Sometimes I'm so caught up in looking at trends, and doing analysis on certain stocks that I'm now missing wars like Miguel going after a guy named Nick.
It doesn't happen
in his
often,
mother's
okay?
basement.
You missed
Eating
everything,
cereal.
David, this week. You missed like my 100 messages to you this week too. Like
Here we
So,
go.
when
Here
you're
we
date-
go.
when
That's
you're
good.
day tr-
That's how
when
you
you're
day trade. That's how you do
when
it.
I'm busy marketing, you're day trading.
I'm shorting. I'm shorting Casino Coin right now. I'm doing very well on it. No, I'm kidding.
Really?
I'm kidding. Oh my God! Look at this face.
There's not much volume there, anyways. So how are you gonna
Exactly.
short? How are you gonna short?
Mark just like this.
Listen. Hold on.
Here, hold on. He's gonna get his boxing glove.
Oh,
Let me ask you a question. So Mark, are you into Casino Coin?
Is it
No,
obvious?
I'm talking about like. No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Next week,
Am
I
I-
expect you to put on face paint, like with the Casino Coin symbol.
No, right
That'd
here.
be
Yeah.
nice.
No. You know how like all the rappers are tattooing their face?
Mhm.
I want to see.
Yeah.
Casino Coin symbol.
This is a PG show. This is rated, right? Our podcast is rated R, right?
I don't know.
I don't-
Because if
fucking
it
know.
is, we can go full on like. You want Casino Coin
Whoa.
boxers? Let's get
You
some.
listen. You started with me, man. You missed.
Shots fired.
Oh
Look,
man.
I'm here talking about
Man.
how dare this 43-year-old virgin of a man wearing his underwears in his mother's basement start with Miguel,
Yeah.
and I missed it.
He has a
Yeah.
great bubble pick, by the way. You know?
He has a Lambo pick?
No, he has a great bubble pick.
Oh,
Yeah. It's
So-
like
so this was-
colorful. Yeah.
This was a prime example of someone who knows a little bit about the crypto industry and they know nothing
Yeah.
about traditional finance, right?
Yeah,
But
the
that's a
funny part
common
is that
theme.
I like it what you said, because the fact that he even posted Steven Tyler's car. So what he's trying to portray or picture, and he's a family friend of ours. And the funny part is that he portrayed it. He even reposted. He really researched that on my Twitter and reposted and saying, "Oh, he didn't went to your office. That's not your office." Well, if you read the tweet that I did, it says there specifically, "Thank you for visiting me, Tyler. I never claimed that that's my car, that it's not my office too as well." But the worst part, and I mentioned that to him, is that have you seen the hashtag Bitcoin 2012?
Yeah.
So from there, he doesn't want to bring it up. And
Entry point.
again, it's just funny when these kids, bring up some topic like that.
Honestly, I'm gonna give you advice. I'm gonna give you advice. It's not financial advice. It's
Okay.
trolling advice.
I know. It's funny.
Listen.
It's funny.
At times, I want to get into it with some of these trolls that think they know better.
Yeah.
Their only purpose here is to go ahead and get you fired up. So
And I like what
honestly-
you said. That's the problem in the community, right? When they want institutional players to come in, so at least new money will come in, so we can, per se, inflate the market, right, and have growth. Well, how can we entertain? And when we go to each and every conference of crypto community, it's the same faces. We don't see faces like a management from Merrill Lynch, J.P. Morgan, or Carl Icahn, or Bill Ackman. We don't see those players, and for that reason, it's hard. And no offense to a lot of YouTubers, some are good, some are explaining really, good, but when they go beyond that boundary, that's the problem right now. Because when regulations comes out, there's going to be real professionals coming in.
Mhm.
When there's real professional comes in, it's going to be tough for them to post a lot of those things in YouTube. And that's the reason why, when you notice, YouTube are starting to track them down.
it's not
that
even
means-
that, Miguel.
Yeah.
It's not even that. When institutional money comes in, once this space because I talk about this all the time. Once this space becomes mature, once institutional money says, "Okay, we're gonna go in," right?
Yeah.
Forget about all these wannabe, day traders. Not me, but everybody else. All these wannabe day traders.
Mhm.
Posting these 99. I've never seen a loss. I'm telling you, I've
Yeah.
never seen a loss on anybody's
That's
account.
I know. For me, that's like, wow. I mean, that's
I respect those that post a loss and say, hey, you know what? I missed on this. I didn't read it right. But no, I never get none of that. These people, the
crazy.
institutions, they're gonna eat these people alive. These people are sharks. They're going to take your money.
Well, what makes you think that we invest only 3 to 5%, right? We only set an allocation for 3 to 5%, right? We're not going full in, but if we go all in, that's a different ball game.
But why go full in? Why go full in?
Not right now. No, not at all. That's not my
you just said
practice.
It. Yeah. No, but it's not even that. Why go full in? When you look at this market, when you look at the space itself and it being so immature, it is immature right now. Let's be honest.
That's the reality. Yeah.
So,
premature.
That's fine. We can say that. We can be nice and say premature. I'm gonna say completely immature. Because here we go with the fucking breakfast, bro. Really?
What do we got?
I don't see it. I only see you, by
Ex Benedict? What's happening, Mark?
No, is it because he has his breakfast coming? And he blocks his wife out the way. You notice that? You notice that, Ross?
Sorry, guys. My wife brought breakfast.
But I was riding on a good point until you had to go ahead and just bring in what was that? It looked like you're on vacation at an all-inclusive hotel and you just grabbed up everything. You're one of those people. You're one of those people.
I got oatmeal, yogurt and raspberries, and,
oh my god,
and a breakfast biscuit.
Wow.
What a spoiled.
Until this space, and I said this last week or the other week, the previous week, until this space matures.
Yeah.
Everybody, hyping up institutional players are in here. That might, like you said, 3%, 4%, at most 10% are in here. But nobody's coming into a space where you have, and I'm going to say this again repetitively, Crypto Gumby and all the, nobody's real names are out here. I get that crypto is supposed to be anonymous, but no, if you're going to grow this space and take it to the next level, you got to have people that, Ross McDonald, Mark, never mind, Miguel Carlos,
Direct
what
links
was that?
to your LinkedIn
Mark,
profile.
He's eating his breakfast. Yeah.
Okay, well, let me ask you a deeper question here,
But
Miguel.
he also made a good point, Ross, as well, and I'm going to let Ross take over. Ross, he made a good point, Miguel. He said, how do you bring in investors? We're so stuck on these conferences where we have this. I just did two.
It's the same question. Yeah, it's the same question. Year over year.
Same people. The same people getting awards.
Trying to figure it out.
There's no new faces.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no new. We had Leah on the show. She's a new face. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
God bless her. She won, an influencer award.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that word, but God bless her. She won. But at the end of the day, I saw the same people, and the same people were talking to the same crowd.
Yeah.
So how are you're not growing this space. It's just stable.
It's kind of like you as a preacher, right? If you want to have your congregation be bigger and broader,
there you go.
You gotta preach pretty good, and you gotta have a new people in front of you in order for them to spread the word. But if you have the same crew, the same people who's just listening to you, there are times that they may get tired of you. Right?
Well, you know what? Right now, it's kind of like going to a little church with the same 30 people that gather up. That's basically all it is. And until we go ahead and step out, I've left Twitter right now. I'm going on to other social media platforms to try to raise awareness about the space. A lot of people don't know about it. I've got a lot of people that
I like TikTok though.
Yeah.
Where social media platforms are you on now, David? Because I don't even know how to get a hold of you
Let's go to
anymore.
MySpace and just tear up MySpace.
Listen.
Are you on plenty? Are you on Plenty of Fish, or where are you at now?
Wow.
Oh, look at.
So we don't do this back and forth thing.
At least Match.com, right?
Oh, swipe. Is that swipe right?
Or what do you call it? Coffee Meets
I don't know.
Bagel.
I did eHarmony, but all right.
I like Coffee Meets Bagel, by the way, but I'm not in dating. Yeah,
Who?
I'm not in dating. Coffee Meets
What is
Bagel.
You're not
Coffee-
in dating, but you know about it. What are you? Never mind.
No, it's just
Anyway.
I have a lot of friends. you know, I
Okay,
have a lot of
I
friends.
see. Yeah, okay. All right, Tinder.
I have a beautiful
Um,
queen. Okay, I have a beautiful queen.
So if
God bless, man. God
so if
bless.
we're looking for new investors, new people to the industry, let's say it comes from traditional finance. Miguel,
Uh-huh.
what's the difference between when you do the diligence behind a large exchange that has really good financial management like Gemini, Binance, versus a startup in the crypto industry that just has a team of developers like a dozen people?
So, another great question. So what I'm gonna say is that when you look at those companies, they are based all in United States, right? Coinbase, Gemini, um, and other companies that I can't think of, but all of them. And the great part is that I would have that confidence. And again, just like what Warren Buffett said, invest in America, because why? We are very highly regulated. That when you hear that kind of word or phrase, that means every consumer who gets in any sorts of investments are protected no matter what. When you get into a market where it's not protected by any means, or there's no democracy or constitution behind it, it's okay to try it, but don't go full in. It's just hard to take. And when you brought up those companies, I feel bad because they are really undervalued compared to a lot of international exchange. Because when you look at the stats, and this is a fact, there's so many exchanges out there who are, a lot of being created. When you look at the volume, it is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, like, like Binance is just billions and billions of dollars. While when you look at Coinbase, they only have 600,000. I was like, what?
It's crazy. The separation is ridiculous. I was looking at it the other day, and I was like, this is nuts.
That scratch your head when you think about it. When we know for a mere fact, even the audience, that what is the strongest currency out there?
U.S. dollar.
U.S. dollars. Where the fuck is that money coming from in Asia?
Yeah.
Ask that to yourself now, right? So that way, for us, we formulated our own case study, and that's the reason why a lot of institutional players are saying, even Warren Buffett, rat poison. I'm not going to use that term. My point is that there's a clear manipulation in the market. That's okay to acknowledge it because it's fixable. There's cracks in every market. But if we can fix those issues and have stability and equilibrium in the market, I think that's the time that we're going to see little by little institutional players will come in. But
Miguel,
clearly.
But my thing with Buffett, right?
Yeah. He's old now.
I love the guy. I mean, like, I respect him. You got to respect him. What you don't have to like him, but you got to respect him. I mean, like,
Agree. Yeah.
The dude started with $1, and now look where he is. So still rides in the same car. Listen, that's not my style, but if I have that kind of money, I'm using it. So for me, though, like, he's been wrong plenty of times, like, especially on technology. He didn't want to invest into Microsoft. He didn't think, it was worth
In
it.
Apple.
A ton of stuff. So, like, for me, when it comes to technology, the technology aspect, I don't really think he listens to the people around him.
No, not really.
There's a lot of people around him who work for him that say, hey, we should jump on Bitcoin. To him, he's you can't change an old dog's mentality, and I get it.
But they did jump in blockchain, by the way. It's a training system. They did.
Correct. But that's a first step. That's
correct.
The first step.
Yeah.
But for me, like, I'm gonna give an example, like the airline companies. Like, for me, I see it differently. Like, Warren Buffett can see it as, hey, it's over. Like, I'm out of here. I'm gonna invest the money elsewhere. For me, I see it as the airlines. If you get into it right now, there's not financial advice, of course, but if I'm going into it right now, all the airlines that I'm picking, I know, like Southwest. Here, go ahead. I will throw one at you. Southwest is definitely, the way they've managed their company. They're definitely going to go ahead and get back up. That'll be LUV. I mean, they're definitely going to go ahead and go back up. Is it going to be tomorrow? No. But you're not investing for the short term unless you're day trading and you're phenomenal as me. I mean, otherwise you're going long term with this.
But that
and I can Yeah, I can add on that one. And the reason why they don't think that way, it's because they can do whatever they want. Keep in mind, he is who he is, and we have to respect the guy, even if he commits mistake. And I'm happy, and even myself, there are times that we're losing money in our portfolio. But should we sell or anything like that? No, because we're making in option trading. But going back to the fact that you guys brought up a lot of traders in crypto, you don't see any losses from them, right?
Yeah.
But institutional players, they see and they say publicly, nationwide, and in broadcast. Warren Buffett mentioned yesterday when we were on the phone call. He mentioned specifically that I made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay because real players, real investors, it's okay for us to take that because it's the reality of it. There's no specific asset right now at the moment are being safe or called safe haven per se. Even gold is getting hit. Oil that you never think of. Even my professor back then in my college said, I asked him a question, will oil go down in price? He's like, negative. It's not going to go negative. Well, guess what? It did negative 355, right? And I was scratching my head. How is that even possible? When you have that unprecedented chart in history that happened in our lifetime, anything's possible right now, and anything can go zero and negative. What I'm saying is that I'm not saying that we have to be optimistic in a sense, but at least, like I said, think of what's happening and be aware of what's happening.
I don't think anything that's not digital and that does not provide a digital service should be up right now.
I know, I agree.
Like Netflix is supposed to be up.
Yeah,
Zoom
yeah.
is supposed to be up. Like anything, like those companies are supposed to be up. When you talk about airlines, they're not supposed to be up. Oil, who's driving? Nobody's driving, unless you want to say truck drivers are driving, and that in itself, probably the load is lower now. I mean, again, that's how you have to. I mean, it's 101. You don't have to be crazy smart and have studied to go ahead and realize that trend.
Yeah,
But
and the good thing is that what you brought up is that I think the positive side, and I mentioned this in the nonprofit side. I said, look, no matter what happens with the economy, we're learning from it. So what happens now in the future is that at least we have a greater chance not to repeat the same mistake. So I'm still positive, not optimistic, but positive in my own persona that no matter what happens in the current situation of our economy, we're still going to learn from it. And us as a human being, I think this is the time that I can see right now that we're helping one another in different type of way. Whether you're from the retail side or, in fact, I believe that when all said and done, when we have the vaccine and medications for the proper, health procedures, I believe the community itself will definitely assist one another, especially the community-based business, like I mentioned, retail, restaurants, and whatever case may be, because that's the kind of persona that we have right now. Because we feel like, and we know for a mere fact that a lot of these businesses never receive a single dime from the PPP or EIDL. I did receive that notification, and but the good thing is that I'm going to say it proudly. Yes, we have an $8.3 billion asset under management, but I never ask a lot of money. I only ask good for 6 months because it's my rights too as well. I wanted to be a good pre-cash flow company because I wanted to protect my investor, my board members. That's my fiduciary duty. My point is that if you are a big company and you can sustain yourself, don't stretch the dollar. Think about other people too as well. If you're gonna take advantage of that loan, I got no problem with you, but please have ethics, be ethical about it.
You know what?
That's
I was
the only
upset.
thing, yeah.
I was upset with
Lakers.
a lot of. Say upset with Mark? What? No, never.
Lakers.
The Lakers. No,
Yeah, it's
sorry.
crazy. Yeah.
But I was upset with a lot of the big companies and institutions that took money. For instance, I'll give examples right now. You had Harvard that took $9 million. You had, unfortunately, they're giving it back, but they had to be called out on it.
Yeah.
You had Auto Nation, which is a huge.
Oh, that's
okay?
crazy.
So Auto Nation, I'm reading it. I'm
Yeah.
sitting back. And one thing, guys, if you're watching, read every day, at least for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be about financial. Just read.
Yeah. You'll see it. Yeah.
$236 million dollars. I might be off a little bit, but it was in the $200 million range.
Yeah.
How dare you, man? Like,
Yeah.
yes, you are essentially classified in some sense as a small business, but you're really not. You're huge. You are huge, especially if that money, the PPP should be going to businesses that have, and this is what's wrong about the way they did everything.
Yeah.
That it should have been for the mom and pop store.
Yeah.
The mom and pop shop that, that's been around for 50 years, that's been serving the community. They should have been getting that money.
Yeah.
Not, hey, you know what?
Not the big one.
Miguel,
Yeah.
I know you, so you know what? Me and you do business. You're going
They
to
were
go
all-
ahead and give me
I
first
like
shot.
that. Yeah, I like that because they were offering us more money. They were offering us more money. I'm not gonna mention the bank, but they were offering us more money. And you know what I said? I only need this. I don't need to take advantage of that.
And that's the unfair part, is that it's not unfair because, look, you built, and from a different standpoint, the businesses, they built these relationships with the bank, so it's understandable that, like, hey, I have a contact, a relationship, I'm gonna get this money. But okay, do we not understand that America is driven on small
medium
businesses?
size, yeah.
It's not driven by large corporations, by Amazon.
Not at all.
Amazon,
Because
it's not.
I like that because all of the companies that you mentioned, the big ones, are zombie companies. All of these companies, there's a reason why they're being bailed out because all of them rely on what? Leverage.
Correct.
Debt. That's the problem right now. But to add on what you're saying, I like the points that you have, forecast and mentioned. The biggest problem here is, yes, they don't have ethics, but the government itself didn't really put any types of guidance on who are really qualified for this fucking money.
Because we fucking rushed everything. That's the whole problem. And I
That's what
understand
remember what I said earlier? Feds rushed it. That's what
I don't think we should have. I don't think we should have cut rates. Honestly, this is what I'm gonna stop talking because I don't want to talk over Ross and Mark. I know you're finished with breakfast. My thing is that I wanted to actually. I didn't want to see the market drop and crash. But what I wanted to see was, hey, we're going through a pandemic right now.
It is.
Like, we need
not
to,
even a recession; it's depression.
Okay, so you're gonna call it a depression, right? Okay, we're going through a depression right now because none of us can go really to work or outside, legitimately outside. I'm talking
30 million. We're at 30 million unemployed.
Correct, and it's gonna keep rising. That's fine because it's gonna be 50% people staying at home and being fortunate enough to work remotely. The other people, obviously, people who work at McDonald's. Okay, I'm not making fun of anybody who works at McDonald's. They're making $17. They have no way to work remotely to serve you a burger. I mean, like,
shit. They're making $17 an hour right now. I made $5 back then. I was a janitor.
CZ worked at McDonald's, man.
Yeah.
Listen, and that's no disrespect.
I look where he is.
I respect, and those are the people that I respect. Like most of anybody who I have around me, at 9 years old I was a paper boy. I mean, for me, I respect anybody who
work is work.
Ahead and, you know what money means. Like Miguel knows what money means. Mark, you know what money means. Ross, you know what it means to work your ass off. Those born into the the sperm club, man. Excuse my language. I'm sorry. But,
no, it's okay. Yeah, that's my sister's.
So, I mean, it's interesting conversation, Ross, because of course they're talking about the U.S. side of things, but up in Canada, Miguel, you have clients up in Canada anyway, right?
Yes.
So are you hearing?
Big clients.
You don't need to say how many clients, but you have clients up in Canada. Are they informing you of kind of how Canada's going for them? Like, are they Are they-
So far, one thing I heard from two of my clients in Canada was everything is good. In fact, you guys have a better healthcare system. And when I did my research, yes, you guys have a better system because you guys really funded your public health and the private institution medical system as well. Here in the United States, that where we can see the crack now. We're having a lot of troubles where we have funneled so much money in those airline companies and a lot of industries, but we couldn't assist our medical providers who's putting their lives in, for us. Come on, at least
My
pay
family.
the goddamn
My
loan
family.
of medical providers.
Yeah.
I mean, we have an airline company up here that gets bailed out too, Air Canada. But for Canada, I mean,
Air Canada is going to being that I'm
Good
a
stock.
famous day trader, Air Canada is a great pickup right now.
Okay, so
you know
guys-
what, buddy? I won't spend your money on Air Canada.
Wow.
That's a
wow.
Maybe
That's a-
there's some emotional feeling and some personal tie-ins to. You know what? I'm not.
Whoa.
Okay,
What
you-
did they do to you?
Constant
I'm a
bailouts.
savage.
You know,
Oh my God.
they're riding off government money. It's government. Air
I
Canada's
gotta tell
government.
you one thing. Airlines, I sit back and I've invested a little bit into them. I gotta
love the
say,
flight
like,
attendants though.
yeah, you love them when the turbulence hits in. Mark's the one who's always looking at the airline. The girl walking by, look, we're okay. Anybody else?
Are we still live? No, I don't look
Mike,
at
you said
anybody.
Okay, you guys.
No.
We have to be
I'm talking
open.
I'm just saying, like, don't you look at the stewardess and be like, is that
Yeah.
with the turbulence? Is everything okay?
She's
Because
fine.
if she's
Listen.
shitting her pants, you're fucked.
Listen, man. I go to 7-Eleven and I look at the chocolate bar aisle. Doesn't mean I just walk right past it and buy a Coke, right? Doesn't mean
Hey,
I'm
man.
picking up a chocolate bar.
I got no problem with the flight attendants. One of them she's following me on Instagram.
Wait, okay, first of all, I didn't even go
Stalker.
in that direction. I was just saying that we use them as a signal if we're going to crash or not.
That's true.
Y'all went into the
That's
whole.
true.
I'm gonna go ahead and go into Tinder and meet up on Facebook and whatever. Miguel and Mark. God bless you guys.
That's a
I'm
great
just sticking up for
analogy.
Ross.
We're actually Canada, Ross. We're opening up next week on Monday. Our golf course open up tomorrow, right?
I'm going golfing Wednesday. I'm stoked.
That's why the Ross mentioned it.
Yeah,
Wait,
and
hold on. You guys are opening up?
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
golf,
Canada.
well, in
Yeah.
stages, but golf
Yeah,
courses
certain,
tomorrow, and only where we're from in our province. So it's just an Alberta thing. But Ross, these business bailouts in Canada were hokey pokey.
Yeah, I don't. I haven't read into it too much, but it's like you said. It's not that different. It's just a smaller scale for Canada. But you're right.
Yeah.
Like if the airlines are getting bailed out, ethically as an investment, this is why Warren Buffett got out of investments with the airlines that we were talking
Yeah.
about earlier.
Major airlines,
You
yes.
you hit the nail on the head, Miguel. You said, "What are your ethics?" And David, but from a day trading standpoint, yes, good entry point. You'll have a good exit point. But Buffett said, "We will not fund a company where we think that is going
Yep.
to chew up money in the future."
Yep.
That's
And
why
how
they pulled.
long
That's
is that?
why they pulled
That's
out.
scary. Yeah, that's scary. Yeah.
Miguel,
He's
I have
not
a
mentioning
question.
about airline.
I have a question for you. And you're going to educate me and probably educate whoever's listening. When you have an MC Capital Ventures, is there a minimum portfolio that you look for in a client? Like when we have these, what's your minimum acceptance? Like, do you have a,
Entry point?
Yeah.
It's about $15 million.
okay.
$15 million.
Is there-
But if it's a family and friend, yeah, we make an exception. But if you're an institutional player and we know who you are, in general, $15 million is the entry point.
Is that normal for, like, when the venture capitalist companies, there's different levels, right? So is that normal? If you said before you're a kind of a smaller one, is 15 million kind of a normal amount?
Not normal. It's actually, in fact, it's a small one.
Small. Okay.
It's small.
Yeah.
Compared to
Did I just get
my
kicked off? Oh,
colleagues, everybody's having like 50 or even $1 billion
Right.
entry point. I'm very small. For me, it's not about the dollar amount. Sometimes, if I
Right.
can bring and value an added value to a person's net worth or investment wise per se, for me, without them, there's no practice, right? I just wanted to give back, and I want people to believe in my system and my practice and my case study, because each and every hedge fund have their own specific investable practice, right? So that's how we do things. And for me, and I mentioned this to the magazines and a lot of interviews, is that ours is more of a situational investing strategy. So it's based on your tendencies, and we combine that with the market's tendencies. So basically, we always wanted to weigh every options for us and for you, for yourself, based on your preferences.
And you said you got back in, you said you got into Bitcoin in 2010. Back then, because
Yeah.
I'm definitely familiar with Bitcoin back in 2010 myself.
Yeah, most of the
How
time
did
it's
how did
only-
you
Yeah.
hear about it? Like, how did you? I know how
Yeah.
my family got into it, but how did you
Yeah.
in 2010 actually get into it?
So as you mentioned, back then I was with I already stepping out Wall Street and as a standalone venture capital. So I have X amount of money already, and I broadcast myself in Craigslist that I'm a venture capital. That's pretty much our means of broadcasting ourselves before, which is really really old school. I received an offer or an email from a developer, and he's presenting me an investable technology startup company, and he wants to start it, and he needs capital. For that, when I have reviewed the documents, I said, it's not an investable asset. I don't see that it can scale enough in the next 3 to 5 years. I'm sorry, but do you have any other thing that you can offer? And until we had a conversation, he said, "Have you heard about Bitcoin?" I said, "No, I haven't heard about Bitcoin." And he said, "We're having a lot of meetups. As you can see, back then, there's no Gemini, there's no Coinbase. It's all like person to person." And that's the reason why even back then, it was a really bad image, because they felt like kind of like the Silk Road and everything, right? Like money laundering, because pretty much you're giving them money and they're giving you units, and you're cleaning up whatever mess they have, right? So my point is that I got in, and he he showed me Bitcoin. And he said, "I have this, and if I need to raise capital, this is the only means of asset I have." My face was like, "What? This is not even an asset," right? So I'm like, I never heard of this. So what can you say that this is an asset? So from that standpoint, I said, "Look, let me think about it. But if you have some sort of a document that can back up Bitcoin, please, send it to me." And that is the white paper.
Nice.
I read the white paper, and obviously I'm not stupid. Finance-wise, it makes a lot of sense. So that's how I got my Bitcoin. I bought all his units. He's a developer who mined all of this through his PC.
listen,
CPU mining early in the game. I love
Early
it.
in the game. That's why a lot of these kids don't know that. That's old school. That's original gangster.
I love these stories. Like, even my family back in 2010, it was so crazy. It's like I think you see those ads, you got to know somebody to know somebody to know somebody. But back in 2010, it was like somebody says to me, a family member says, "Mark, you should buy Bitcoin." I'm like, "What it is?" Computer money. I'm like, "Computer money?" He's like,
Yeah.
I said, "So why would I buy computer money?" Because we were so unknowledgeable. It's like, so if my computer goes away, my money's in the computer.
Yeah.
Like, I really didn't understand. Fast forward, long story short, that person, whatever, bought 125,000 units, and I didn't.
You mentioned the units. I smiled.
I have
What's that?
what's going in my head? What's bothering me is that I know one of my laptops has Bitcoin in it. I just don't, and I have all 9 saved, the ones that you don't use anymore because they upgrade laptops every 2 weeks. So
Yes.
there's one. I know one of them has it because I remember. Everybody knows my story. 2014, 15, I started to get into I would say get back into.
Yeah.
I was into blockchain, but then I started to get really into crypto.
Mhm.
So like I'm like wondering, how much Bitcoin do I have sitting on one of my laptops? I remember somebody telling me about it. One of my friends was like, "Gotta get into it, gotta get." I'm like, "What is this shit?" I'm like, "Get into
Yeah.
Bitcoin." What is... And then but it's changed everybody's lives. Like, look, it's
It is.
created
It
a
is.
new niche. Like we're sitting here this morning
Yeah.
discussing, cryptocurrency and blockchain, Bitcoin. I mean, it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's something new, and it's something that gives people power.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
That's
Like
true.
decentralization is key. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
It's key.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look
It
at
just
the
need
opportunities. What
a
other
lot.
industry
Yeah.
in the world can we look who we're meeting? Look who we're talking. Like, look who we're becoming friends with.
Yeah. I have a contact of mine, and someone gave him 100 Bitcoin in 2010 on a memory stick at a trade show conference, and he understood what it was. He understood it didn't have much value, and he used that to pay someone to build a website for him. He said, "Will you accept this Bitcoin, and will you take this 100 Bitcoin?" And the guy's like, "What's Bitcoin?" He's like, "Okay, I guess I'll do it." And he held on to it, and he sold it in 2017. And then he invited him over for dinner to this nice house he bought. And he said, "Thanks for paying me in Bitcoin. Paid for this."
Who is this? Who is this?
This is a guy, I forget his name. He works for a company that creates, they want to build these islands in French Polynesia where these little islands operate on their own cryptocurrency. I forget the name of the company. It's Blue Horizon or something like that. And he likes the story because it puts the power of speculative, blockchain decentralization and Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. It puts the value behind how it can grow in a totally different pattern compared to old money, like Miguel says.
I like that, Ross. I like
story.
that. You just bring up a good point. I like what, like, let's say Akon is doing,
Yeah.
where like somebody is taking building a city, and everything's controlled. The currency is controlled, obviously, on a blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, is how you can go ahead and take an institutional player and show them, look, this is how it works, and this is how the future is going to look like.
Have a product.
You can't take, let's say, a person like Miguel or somebody who's, an institutional player, bring them in onto crypto Twitter and show them, like, look, this is cryptocurrency. This is what blockchain's all about. Because I'd leave in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's the difference when we talk about stepping outside of the box, because crypto Twitter is the home base, but we need to step out. I'm doing it right. I swear to you guys, all bullshit aside, and I know we like to joke around, I've stepped out of just being on Twitter. I'm going onto other social media platforms where people don't really know about it, but they're interested because they've heard. I don't want to say don't know about it. They've heard about it, but they've never got into it.
Yeah.
And that's fun right now. That, like, to hear people like being interested, and not all about, hey, like some people. I'm not gonna name names because if I start doing that,
We're not
I'm gonna get
shoving
a lot
it
of
in
hate.
their face. Yeah.
But we have a lot. Have you noticed a lot of big time players on Twitter shop it? Like, I'm talking about, they really shill it. I'm talking about, yo, Bitcoin or nothing. Like, bro, what are you doing? You're telling somebody to. I heard one person
Doesn't
say,
make sense.
Take out your 401k and dump it into Bitcoin. What the fuck are you doing? What are you saying?
Yeah, and that's one thing that I always mention. I like what you mentioned too. It's because for a mere fact that for someone like Made and who made money elsewhere, you can't really say that because they don't give a damn. Because Do you think if a Warren Buffett have about $132 billion, do you think he gives a damn making more money?
No. I mean, what I mean,
Right?
what is it to him at this point? You know,
it's a
I
game.
see,
It's
see,
an
I don't see-
addiction. It's an
I don't see
addiction.
Warren Buffett that way. I see, you know, Jeff Bezos. I see him
That's
having an
more.
addiction.
Yeah,
He has an
that's
addiction though. He wants his thing with Jeff. He wants to take over. Like Warren Buffett.
Competition
wants to go
wise,
ahead,
yeah.
Warren Buffett's a guy who's like he has a thrill on like investing.
He already made
and,
it.
like,
Yeah.
But like now, obviously he's older. He's
Yeah.
good. He's well
He
off beyond.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care. Yeah.
But like Jeff, like he doesn't have to care either. But he's like, no, I'm a dominate. I can't wait until he gets into the automotive industry. I mean, the automotive as soon as and he's already in somewhat. He's already in with one foot in there.
Yeah.
I mean, once that happens, I don't know what the automotive industry itself is going to do.
I was just thinking about that, David, with Jeff in the automotive industry, man. If you get somebody like Jeff starting up a Carvana, you know, I love Jeff, man. That guy's story, I actually appreciate that guy a lot.
Yeah, but a lot of people are going to get hurt by him entering the business. It's not a good thing. For me personally, looking at it, it's not a good thing. It's a bad thing because if I'll tell people a little bit about the automotive industry real quick. A lot of people get paid six figures and more to be in the automotive industry. You're not going to have that. You're not going to have anybody making that amount of money if Jeff comes in. So you're going to see, I'm going to tell you, you're going to see a wild battle with the manufacturers versus Jeff. Ultimately, I think Jeff wins.
Did you guys
Just because people want. Let me ask you, Ross. If you need a new car right now, what are you doing? Do you want to go into the dealership?
He calls me.
Yeah.
Do you want to go see Mark?
No.
Well, I'll take his advice for sure.
No. Take his advice. No doubt about it. Mark is a smart guy, and I'm going to give him a compliment for once in his life. He's a smart guy. But do I want to leave my house when I have the opportunity to click on a button on my phone and have this shit delivered? Don't Carvana is losing money? They're losing money, Carvana.
A lot.
A
lot. Yeah, a lot.
Buddy, this COVID has our city here, this COVID has created such crazy competition with delivering cars to people's homes. It is unbelievable, me being in the industry in the finance side of things, not in the sales side of things, but it's crazy how fast these banks are adapting to allowing you to deliver a car to a client. It's a massive competition now in our city. It's like, we'll go right to your house. We'll go right to your house. We'll sign all your... They're offering incentives now for going to your house.
The crazy part about it is the banks would never allow you to do this because, you know, if somebody signs outside of the dealership, because most of these dealerships have...
we're allowed now.
No, I'm saying now, but like...
Some.
Before this, pre-coronavirus,
correct.
if you were going to sign your contract outside of a dealership,
it's void.
You could call up the next week and say, hey, I didn't sign.
Correct. Yeah, no DocuSign, no straw purchase at all prior to this. Absolutely not. Now a couple have opened up.
So if you think that the business is not changed, once we get back, once people get back to work, once those go back to the automotive industry, I'm going to touch on that point. A lot of people a lot of companies are going to just downsize because they could just have people do it through Zoom, set up Zoom, and that they're going to save money and make more money.
Yep, 100%. I totally agree.
You know, people in the
and this is why you're day trading, right? Because you're fast tracking your next step.
Listen, I'm sorry to put Miguel to shame, but I am. No, I'm kidding. I'm messing around. But no, listen. I'm
pretty sure Miguel wasn't really concerned about what you were going to say.
Did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear that Blue Origin? Did you guys hear that Blue Origin? This is Jeff Bezos' space company. Was rewarded the contract, which will take NASA and take people back to the moon.
Sounds like a space galactic, just
Yeah.
like
Let me ask you a question. Why do I care?
That's another. That's
No, no,
another.
no,
That's the
I'm not
most
saying-
another
powerful
company.
thing to have, you know.
But like, okay, we go to the moon. Okay. All right. What does it do? Like, what? Okay. Like, why don't we finally go ahead and take some of this money that we printed out, right? Okay, we printed out 1.5 trillion, which is probably more than that, but we print out that money. Why don't we go ahead and use that money, at least in the States? I know we'll talk about the States real quick. Why don't we go use that money towards those single moms that have, let's say, 2 kids right now that didn't get enough money? You're gonna tell me $1,200 and $500, let's say, per kid was enough? Are you kidding me?
No.
I mean, we gave so much money out, but we still don't understand that small business and the factory worker keeps the economy going.
Yeah, and I like the one that you mentioned too. And people don't realize this when they are happy taking unemployment. Keep in mind, the maximum unemployment that you can take a week is $450.
Correct.
You tell me now if a lot of people will survive, and that's the reason why I mentioned it's a credit facility, not a liquid money.
Well, you're gonna have that only for Miguel. That's only for, in the States. It's only for 4 months. So you get the 600 from the government, and then you get that.
And whether you're making like $100,000 or $500,000, it doesn't matter. That's the max.
Correct.
It's the same here too. Yeah.
So here you go. You're getting $1,100 hypothetically.
These are
let's say.
facts. Yeah.
You get $1,100. Okay. A lot of people, and this is where they, I think they went wrong with this. A lot of people made $700 per week.
Yeah.
Now you're making $1,100. You have
mortgage.
I mean, you don't have to go outside. I mean, like you don't have to go ahead and potentially catch COVID-19. Why am I going back to work? Please let me explain to me, why am I going back when I have all these benefits?
Yeah. And the question is, after that, what's next, right?
Correct. I mean, they should have had it set up where they probably do, but like the employers, they need to have anybody who's getting money. They had to have it set up to where it's documented where, hey, you were making, you were getting $1,200 from unemployment.
Yeah.
We're going to give you the same thing.
Correct. Yeah.
But you have employers which are not doing that.
It's funny. And that's the reason why a lot of these businesses are returning the PPP, because a lot of these workers are freaking lazy. They don't want to go back to work because they know for a mere fact they don't have to work and they're still receiving money. Mm-hmm. But one thing for sure is that they're selling themselves short. They're not thinking about for the long term that, hey, when you keep on doing that, you're killing the economy too. Where the money should be for the long term.
Miguel, though, like honestly speaking, though, a lot of people are scared. I don't think I don't care what country you're from. Mm-hmm. I really think I truly believe that a lot of people are scared. Like, a lot of people are scared to go back to work because they just don't want to be the person who ends up on a ventilator. Because once you go on a ventilator, it's most likely you're not getting off of it.
Yeah,
and they don't want
I'm speaking for regarding the PPP. That's the
correct.
But,
no, I get that. I get that. But and it's a catch-22 because now you get the PPP. You're a business owner. Yeah. You have to bring your employees back. So you offer your employee to come back, and what happens? The employee says no. You look like the bad guy because you're going to take him off for unemployment because you're offering him a job because you need to, because the government says if you don't offer a paper or at least
if you don't
acknowledge this person, then that loan is not turning into no grant.
You're it's a liability, correct? Yeah, correct. You can go to jail.
And honestly, in 24 months, even if you do everything right, you're still going to get hit with an audit, which is still going to take some money back.
Which is bad.
I mean, the whole thing is...
Yeah, so that's why I said, remember when I mentioned to you guys and to every viewers out there that there's no proper guidance when you think about it. And the only people who have the rights to take that, and technically when you think about it, are the institutional or bigger business. Because why? It's a case-to-case basis. For example, like mine, I can use it for a payroll. Why? All of my staff are in their own house, right? So my point being is that how can you use that money in elsewhere when you are a restaurant owner? That's my point. It's hard because it's a different use case. It's a different kind of business model, and that's the reason why a lot of these corporations are taking advantage of these funds.
We rushed everything. Honestly,
It
we
is.
rushed
That's what I
everything
said.
way too
That's what I
fast.
said. Feds
There's
rushed
no
it
plan.
right away. Yeah.
You know what they did? They said, "Here's money, figure it out."
Yeah. That's exactly what they did. Yeah.
Anybody read that article with the woman who tried to go ahead and hire back her staff? It was some hair salon. She has a bunch of hair salons. She went ahead and tried to hire her staff back,
Uh-huh.
and they literally want to kill her
Oh,
because they're making more money on unemployment.
yeah, it's
How-
crazy.
Now the morale is gonna suck when you open back up.
For business owners, yeah.
Now we need small business in order to operate.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. We're not going to do anything as any country if you don't
Correct.
have small business geared up.
Yes, agree.
You know
It's
what?
not going to move our society. Yeah.
You know
And
what's,
people, when you talk to people, Ross, you know what they say? I'm not going back to. I talk to some people. I ain't going back to work until they find a vaccine or some sort of medicine that will go ahead
Or
and.
at least test me,
Mhm.
for just to give
Otherwise-
confidence.
So they're willing. A lot of people are willing to go ahead and go through the financial burden.
Yeah.
To stay healthy. Which, listen, from that standpoint, I respect it. I get it. We need to, in order to stop all this shit right now, we need to find some sort of cure, or we
Yeah.
have to find a real vaccine. I'm not talking about Bill Gates here.
Yeah. It's
I
not
don't
gonna
know.
happen.
Since when did he become that? I ain't gonna go into it because some of you might love Bill Gates.
No,
This dude
no.
couldn't even stop viruses on Windows. You're gonna tell me he's gonna come out with a vaccine to go ahead and stop corona?
Well, let's not go far. Think about HIV and AIDS, right? We still don't have a specific vaccine for it. And you're telling me this unknown virus that we just first encountered right now, you're going to create a vaccine for it for 1 year, within 1 year?
Well, so HIV is a virus, right?
Right.
It is a virus, and this specific coronavirus, acts in some ways like HIV.
Yeah.
So
So,
it's. I'm
It's
not
crazy.
into conspiracy
Yeah.
theories, man.
yeah.
But I gotta tell you, man.
You know
Kinda weird.
what I keep thinking about is our society right now hinges a lot on time preference. When we want something, we get it. We want information, we
that's
get
that's
it.
the thing. We
You
wanna
want a
get it
haircut,
right now.
you
Yeah.
get it. It's not a lot of the time. It's not necessarily what the dollar value is. You pay it, you go into debt if you need it. It doesn't matter. But now supply and demand is going to change because, like you said, the hair salon can't open back up. Certain
Yeah.
groceries are not available, and everything is going to hinge on supply and demand now when it really doesn't.
It doesn't. It relies on every supply chain out there. Supply chain is pretty much fucked up right now.
Oh yeah.
Look at meat.
It's crazy.
Look at the meeting. Look at the meat industry right now. They had to shut down.
Yeah.
About 60% of the processing plants are shut down because people caught corona.
And they wanted to open it. Yeah. They
Well,
wanted to
we
open
shut
it.
down
Yeah.
40%. Cargill shut down here, which supplies very close to 40% of Canada's meat. In fact, Cargill is a multi international company. It's a very large company, but 40% of Canada's meat shut down.
So now what do you do?
Well,
Now,
Be
now you
vegan.
import source. Yeah, exactly. You have no other choice. But now the farmers are having. Farmers are taking
So,
milk and dumping
supply chain. Yeah, supply chain again. Yeah.
it. So,
Yeah, they're not sending the same amount of cows and cattle to the plants now. It's all
Yeah.
screwed up.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, I agree. We need to go ahead and get the economy going. 100%. We need to get the economy going, so we can, obviously get back on track.
Stop
I
printing
personally
money.
think that- exactly that also. But
Yeah.
you have to. I honestly feel like we can't rush it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we're all gonna get hurt, but is it better to? And I hear some big personalities on Twitter, and it makes me angry when they, because I know these guys will not. They're working remote,
Correct.
so you have the privilege of working at home. So when you go on Twitter and you're talking about people need to go back to work, I want to see your ass go back to work with these people that
Yeah.
are going to put their, health on the line for
Yeah.
your benefit.
So
That's what gets me pissed off.
So for me, I can say proudly, and the manufacturing business of my family, right? Yes, we have 189 employees in place, but we don't full blast them. We have to be creative that there's going to be batch per batch. And remember, there's only 8 hours a day work shift. So what we have done is that each and every batch, they have about 2.5 hours for each and every batch for that 189. So at least we're not congested in our manufacturing business.
Yeah.
And yet we have an on-site, by the way, on-site medical providers.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
What is your what is your family manufacturing? If you don't
It's a
mind me asking?
micro analog.
Very interesting.
It's based in Laverne. We manufacture a lot of microchips for different industry, from Apple, from Boeing, and a lot of businesses. Yes.
That's pretty awesome.
Very
Like
cool.
right now, obviously, we're not doing any of those.
Right.
We're about to be done with our mask, and we're shipping all of the masks right now to a lot of nonprofits.
Right.
See, but everybody's hurting. Like, everybody's hurting. I get it. Everybody's hurting.
Correct.
But do we restart the economy and end up in the same situation? Or do we go ahead and just bite the bullet, suffer a little bit more, and go back the right way?
Yeah, again, it needs to have a proper guidance, right? And a phase, method and a system in place. But the problem right now is that they wanted to full blast the whole economy and open the economy. And you can't do that.
No.
We're battling an unknown virus right now.
You're going to cripple the healthcare system, and this is what people don't understand.
Right now, they're going bankrupt. Yeah.
And there, Miguel made a great point. Going bankrupt, they have no money.
Yeah.
Right now, they got a few supplies, but imagine the next outbreak. If the second wave comes, it's going to be worse than the first one. And now, if we couldn't get by right now, a lot of people talk shit on social media saying that, I walked by a hospital, it wasn't really busy. Shut up. When you say that, just shut up, because my family's in the medical field, and you know what? They were pretty busy, okay? Non-stop busy.
Yeah.
So,
the only thing they see is just the front.
Correct.
They don't see whatever's happening inside. Yeah.
This is not a Democratic thing. This is not a Republican thing.
This is the reality.
Correct. Like, when I see Republicans will post that, hey, this is not real. It's the Democrats trying to get Biden in. Shut up. Stop. It has nothing to do with that.
And the funny part is, and this is the reason why I've been fighting for our medical providers in the field, it's because we have seen a massive amount of money funneled and being used for bailout in a lot of airlines and other industries. But for a mere fact, we haven't really got into details on how does a medical or hospitals operate, right? A lot of this happening right now with our pandemic, a lot of these patients are treated for free. Well, keep in mind, you have a payroll of a doctor, of a nurses, of a caregiver, and many sorts of things. So think about that clearly. So that's the reason why a lot of these hospitals just rely on the insurance bills and everything. And when you look at that, for instance, from hospital, and they couldn't get payment or whatsoever, the one who's hurting again is who? Insurance companies. So every goddamn companies or policies out there are hurting for a big way. When everybody's hurting, it's hard to move forward in the industry.
Doctors are hurting. Like, doctors who do elective practices, they can't do it.
And they have a big mortgage.
100%. That more ain't small. And now you're stuck operating.
Now think about the banks. Think about the banks after that. So think for the long term now. Do you think that we're going to survive this and we're going to have a V shape, or no, it's not. It's going to be an L shape.
Interesting.
I think that if you saved up your money and if you've done,
we did that for 4 years. Yeah,
but you know what? If you don't live above your means, okay, and you save up your money.
Yeah, agree.
And you spend correctly and you're financially responsible. And this is why you need, some people, if you're not, you need a financial advisor to go ahead and help
Needs to
you
be a
these current
financial
times.
advisor, not a portfolio manager. Because a
Correct.
lot of financial advisors, they act like they can do everything.
Mhm.
Correct.
That pisses me off.
I can understand that. But you need to go ahead. If we do have that, if the economy does crash, which I can see it going down like 5,000 points. From
Possibly.
I can see it.
Yeah, you can retest the lows. Yeah.
Be prepared, but it's going to go back up, and when you see the blood on the street, it'll be your opportunity to figure out, hey, should I go into some of these things?
Yeah, correct.
Should I go into
Yeah.
Tesla because Elon Musk went ahead and tweeted out,
Yeah.
I got to
absolutely.
tell you, I hate him right now. I love him, but I hate him right now for tweeting that
Yeah.
out. But he keeps it real. Like, yo, we're overvalued, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And what can we do?
Yeah, that's true.
But he shouldn't be tweeting those things, by the way. He shouldn't be tweeting those things.
Oh, he was told by the SEC that it was okay to go ahead and tweet that out, which it's mind-boggling because the tweet that got him in trouble, this one is probably worse than the one that got him in trouble.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he did before, right? When Tesla went down.
It'll hit 420.
Yeah.
Boom.
It went 422. He smoked.
He's a madman. I gotta respect him.
He's very
a
eccentric.
madman.
Yeah, he's that type of guy, right?
Well, what's new coming down the pipe, Miguel? Do we have some news we can have you back on? That's private for now, but maybe in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking for a lot of processes and system in place, how we can bridge the gap from institutional players to the retail for crypto. And that's one thing I'm going to mention right now. But for sure, this is something that I can take, pride as a project because it's not an ordinary project. It's what you call something that it's going to be backed by real assets.
Yeah.
So that gives a lot of stability in the market and confidence to any investors out there and for any retail investors that can jump in and be part of the institutional play too. So we're opening the market for everybody.
We want to have you back
Wow.
on the podcast when you can announce things.
I'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
If you have that, yeah.
Down the road.
Wow.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out. But that'll be
Yeah,
exciting.
I just wanted a fair market.
Yeah.
Is that fair enough to say? Fair market for everybody.
Yep.
I respect that.
But
I respect that.
we'll share your website and your social profiles on our Twitter so that
Thank
we
you,
can
guys.
share this podcast. People can follow you a little more, see what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And some of my accounts are being, heard in Shanghai and Taiwan right now. So,
Yeah.
so thank you. Thank you for having me, guys.
Miguel, it's always a pleasure catching up with you, and I'm so grateful that you're able to find time to come on our podcast. So
Of course. Yeah. Anything for you guys.
It's exciting to have someone on who knows traditional finance and not just crypto and not just future finance, because it's exciting what you shared with us today, how well they tie in together.
Hype versus reality.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not like Miguel works in make-believe finance, like
No.
where you see it on Twitter, Miguel posting his, all his wins and none of his losses.
No, I never post any of that.
I love that. Can we be honest? If you're really making money, are you really posting on
No.
Twitter or social media in general? You're not.
Not really. No.
You're not.
No.
And
I
you
can
know
express my opinion, but not,
Yeah.
no.
when I
We don't
watch
need
people
attention.
that's for people that are looking to go ahead and sell you a course. If you're so rich, why are you selling courses? I'm just saying.
Exactly.
I'm putting it out there.
Yeah.
I can get Grant Cardone selling you a course on how to do things.
I'll slap his face.
Oh. This is still recording, right?
Yeah.
We seem to bring the best out of people.
Yeah.
He said, "I'll slap his face." You seen that live stream that he did?
No, not at all. I don't follow him.
He did. I honestly, I don't either. but I seen the live stream where he goes and says that I'm bankrupt. I'm selling off my G5. Like he literally went on a whole rant.
Wow.
He could
Well,
probably
he
get
doesn't
it for,
even know. He doesn't even own that. It's a lease.
Yeah.
Listen, take it to you. Well, he already. Listen, obviously he made it, but like, you know, you fake it till you make it. I mean, it's true.
The only
It-
thing I know
that-
is that he's having a lot of lawsuits.
Ooh, that's no fun. Unreal. Well, we're glad to have people like you on the podcast, Miguel. I don't, unfortunately.
Hey Miguel, if we go down to the World CryptoCon this year, if they have it, are you going to come over with John from Patka Foundation again?
Yeah, I can bring even Jonathan from Chicago Bulls.
There we go.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Nice chatting with
All right.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Nice having everyone on the podcast.
Miguel,
you
it's
for
a
having
pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you again.
All right, stay safe, guys.
All right, you too.
Guys, yeah, that's the biggest thing. Stay safe. Hope your
Yep.
families are good.
Happy and
All right.
healthy, guys.
Thank you.
See you guys. Thanks.
Another mistake I can't explain. Another misstep I can't regain. Now I'm reaching for your arms again. To me, baby, you're everything. We take one step up, then we're stranded. One step back, we're empty-handed. But you make me feel good. You know you do. You make me feel good.